Welcome back to the It Show, guys. Today we have somebody that I'm super excited to pick her brain. She has a wealth of knowledge in the insurance industry, over 35 years. She's seen every single iteration of insurance, of everything that has to do with this this crazy world that we deal with. Today we have Diana Giron. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Great to meet you, Eddie, and so great to meet you, Will. And looking forward to answering any of your questions about insurance. And it's a love-hate relationship. I've been doing this for so long, but I really do love helping realtors, lenders, and my community because insurance is so expensive as it is. So we try to make it um, less expensive as possible and something that they know everybody has to have it, but we have to treat them with the care and respect they deserve.
Sure.
So insurance, obviously I do mortgages. I deal with a lot of insurance issues. Especially in this market right now, one of the biggest deal killers in the mortgage world is insurance.
Yeah.
Whether it's just too expensive, so it's killing DTI, or it's just, you can't insure the policy for whatever reason. Could you help us understand kind of the world that insurance is in now and why things are so much more expensive in Florida as opposed to every other state in the United States?
Yeah. Well, it all has to do with the fraudulent activity that we were plagued with for 7 years. And it all started in 2016 with Southern Fidelity, an insurance company. Actually, it was Federated National, an insurance company, and they didn't handle something right with a claim. And so that opened the loophole for the legislative law to be changed in Tallahassee. And it allowed attorneys to be able to sue a one way with a 30-time multiplier. So here's how it works. So if you have a person that says, I have a claim, and they say, no, this is wear and tear, especially the roofs, which was what we were plagued with. The average shingle roof in the state of Florida doesn't last 30 years like they say. We all know that. Our weather, our heat, the rains, all of that, you're lucky if you get 20 years. But once you get to 15 years for a shingle roof, you pretty much have reached 75% of the lifespan. It changes for other roofs, the metals and the clay tiles, etc. But let's just stick with the most common for now. And so that's when they were plagued with the roofers that were knocking on the doors. I'm sure it happened to so many of us. We all remember, hey, I'm replacing all of the shingles in this community because this area was hit with hail. So here's my card. Call your insurance company, file a claim. If they don't pay you, you call me, I'll get you a free roof. Everybody, just that dangle of that cherry was too much, even though they have a 2% hurricane deductible, but depending on where you are, it's expensive. What they were really doing is looking at the age of the community and targeting that way. So if the community was 14 to 15 years old, that was their target community. And we all know that hail, like a tornado, does not occur at the same time. So you could be my neighbor, Will, and you get hit and plummeted with hail, and I could be right next to you or across the street from you, and I get nothing. So that's impossible for a whole community to be able to get it. So they knew that, but there's X amount of hits that have to occur for it to be even something that is considered a real hail claim. So what happened was the roofer, the insurance company sent their adjuster. The adjuster got on the roof and said, no, this is regular wear and tear. There's not enough here. There's really no hail at all, actually. And so I tell you what, I'm going to give you $10,000 just because you see a few things here that you could do in other areas. So I'll just give you this amount. Well, that's not going to replace that $30,000 roof. So that card that was left by that roofer, that client, that owner's going to calls him up and he says, come see me. They said this was what they would give me. Don't worry, I got you. Come on over. Come over, sign a contract, and then you sign your assignment of benefits. You just assigned your rights and benefits of your policy to a complete stranger who promises to get you a free roof. And that's what was going on. Well, you no longer have the right to to getting any money for that claim. It doesn't come to you. It's now going to go to that attorney or the adjuster, public adjuster, whoever they chose. Then they're going to delay and add billable hours because they gave them 2 years. So they were sending engineers and delaying and arguing and back and forth. So that was creating a lot of billable hours for the insurance company and, of course, for the plaintiff. So what happened is if that client said, I'm sick and tired of this, I want to sell my house, you can't sell your house because you have an open claim. And you don't even own that policy anymore. So you can't even sell your home under those conditions. So they were at the mercy of the attorney's office closing that deal. So to put it all in a story here, so that $10,000, they could go up to $300,000. That was the claim at the end of it. 30-time one-way attorney multipliers. That's what that means. So what happens next? Yes, they got the $300. Yes, you got your free roof. But guess what? They pocketed the rest of that money, and you now have a $300,000 roof claim on your record for 5 years.
Wow.
That's what really happened and plagued this state. That's why we have such expensive home insurance in Florida, the most, like you said earlier, Will, in the entire country. It is changing because thank God that loophole took sunset on January 1st, 2023. We argued about it. We talked a lot about it. I went to Tallahassee about it. I was on Channel 9 here locally in Orlando many times discussing the importance of it because, quite frankly, the only person that gets hurt is the consumer. We all got hurt. I mean, look at the companies that left. Look at Farmers, huge company in the country, said goodbye forever. They just left. Why? Because their actuaries undercut the premiums. That's why everybody was running to them. They couldn't sustain that. You have to understand that the insurance companies are poised for hurricanes. After all, this is our peninsula. Their actuaries expect hurricanes to hit. And when a hurricane hits, whether it's in Tallahassee or Key West, it affects Florida. So that's really important. But what they didn't account for is this fraudulent activity. The worst case I saw was in St. Pete. It was in Pinellas County, and it wasn't with me, thank God. But it was a $43,000 water claim through the tile through the living room. It had a crack problem. Anyway, it ended up settling for $1.2 million. 30-time multiplier.
Wow.
That's what ended up. It was horrible.
So the insurance company had to pay $1.2 million on a $43,000
because of the
damage.
attorneys. So the only people making money here were the attorneys. They loved this loophole. And that loophole was supposed to be intended for extreme cases. Well, they just used it for everything. So at one point, the state of Florida was receiving over 380 claims per day that were being filed. Out of those 380 per day, over 85% were all roof claims.
Yeah.
So their legal department didn't even have time to argue it because they would lose more money. So they were just approving these fraudulent claims. But who pays for it? We do. And everybody that you know that did that, you're paying that. We're all paying for that. So that's what happened. The laws changed a little bit, but it's still happening. The one thing I have to tell you that people don't know, insurance companies are heavily regulated by the Department of Insurance and the Office of Insurance Regulations. So here's what happens. An insurance carrier cannot make more than a 4.5% profit margin. That's it. That's all they have. 4.5. So for them to be able to get these rate increases approved over the last 7 years or 9 years, it's been wild. You can imagine how much they owe. And the state says, please, please, we'll allow you to increase it, but we don't want you to leave because citizens can't do it all. And that's another nightmare. So it's important for the public to know that they're heavily regulated on a quarterly basis, Will.
Yeah.
And on auto, they're also heavily regulated. And there was another loophole that also took sunset on March 1st, 2023 for the windshield. There was a loophole in the system that allowed an attorney to, out of a windshield claim, $5,000, $5,000.
On a windshield?
On a windshield claim.
How much does a windshield cost to replace?
Not $5,000.
Not $5,000, but that's what was happening. There were people that were actually knocking on businesses. It happened in our office. Did you know you have a crack on your windshield? Well, we're an insurance agency. Goodbye.
Wow.
But it happened to a lot of people, and sometimes they put the crack there.
Jeez.
So there was a lot going on in the state, but it looks like we're in a better place now. And just the good news, this year alone, I've seen rates starting to go down. So it's an excellent time for everybody, your viewers, yourselves, to shop your insurance. Let's look at your home insurance. Let's compare apples to apples. I always say the numbers don't lie. They're black and white, and we can't change them. So share your renewal policy declaration or your current. If you think you're paying too much, you probably are. And auto insurance is also going down. I just saved somebody 2 weeks ago, which was extreme, but it's what happened. 5 vehicles, 4 drivers. I saved them $4,000 every 6 months.
Oh,
That was
Substantial.
he knew he was paying too much. That's $8,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
yeah, that's wild. You mentioned Citizens, and when we first met, you were telling me this wild
That's a problem.
story about what's going on with Citizens. Do you care to elaborate a little bit?
Please, this is one of the main reasons I wanted to come here and meet with you all,
Yeah.
to share this with the community, because people need to be aware. So Citizens was supposed to be the last resort. They're not the last resort. In fact, they're not the cheapest kid in town anymore. Only in a few cases that I'm fully aware of. And those cases, I know where we have to go at that point. But for the most part, no. But here's what's happening. Citizens, I went to the insurance convention, which was the Latin Association of Independent Agents, in August in Marco Island. And I went to the Citizens class, and I sat there with the top people. A lot of the agents in the room, in the audience, didn't know what I was going to say, and it was obvious that they didn't have their hand in the pulse, like the way I'm always asking with my staff and really involved, because I do a lot of public speaking and I want to be aware to educate my community. And so what happened next is I said to them, I said, well, listen, now Citizens has, by the way, 21 carriers, and they're talking about they're doing the depopulations within the first 90 days. So let's say, for example, they close with you. Just know that in the first 90 days, that policy is going to be depopulated to one of the 21 new carriers that they've added on. It's going to be gone. So effective in this 90 days, first 90 days, that new carrier is going to be the servicing agent. The policy will still stay with Citizens, but the servicing agent and their guidelines apply. Then the renewal will go to that carrier. But here's what happened. There was a client who had $10,000 water coverage with Citizens, because when you have a home that's a little older, nobody wants to give you full coverage for the water inside, i.e. plumbing problems with the refrigerator line, the washer machine, the water heater, anything like that. So any type of water, the toilet's backing up, anything like that, you leave the water running in the sink. All they can have is $10,000. So when this company took over and started to service them, the client had a claim like 5 months in, and they paid zero. He had a $7,000 water claim. $7,000 water claim, called the insurance company, only to find out that the new company that was doing the servicing, the new takeout company from Citizens, will not offer water because the home was over 40 years old.
So even if they signed a policy with Citizens and they handed off to another carrier 91 days later,
Yep.
you adopt whatever the new servicers.
And guess what? They don't tell the agency, and they just threw it out there.
How's that legal?
That's my question. Now you're speaking, Diana. First thing I said is, how is this legal? How can this be legal? And the head guy from Citizens, what he said to me is, it was approved by the Office of Insurance Regulations. So that is where we are, folks.
That was his answer?
That was his answer. And I said, then who's going to get sued? Nobody can get sued, not even us. It's just, if they approved it, it's the new law. So they're telling us right there. So here's what we're doing at my agency that I don't know what everybody else is doing, because evidently not everybody is aware of it. But I have a CSR person assigned to all of the Citizens takeouts. And we only have a window, a very short window, when they send, the client gets the letter. If the client receives the letter, that's the time to call us or their agent, whoever their agent is. That's the time, because you have a very short window of rewriting them. You can rewrite them. You can rewrite them anytime. Yes, it might cost a little more, but peace of mind is priceless. So we are notifying all of our clients of any changes. And that's just one of the possible ones, but I think that's the worst one. Can you imagine that? You think you have $10,000? Your agent thinks you have $10,000 coverage and you have zero. And that's what happened to this person.
What's the window that they have?
When they get that letter, before the 91 days, you want it, they're going to get the letter. And then what we do is we have a checklist. So we've been starting to check them all. So we can call the client, let them know, listen, we can't change it. We can't add it back. They've already given you away and Citizens doesn't want you back. That was what we all got from this meeting. Citizens does not want to write home insurance in Florida anymore.
Because they're trying to offload.
They're trying to offload, which makes sense. That we're supposed to be there for the last resort. Maybe when a major catastrophe happens, that kind of thing. But the thing is, their guidelines don't allow for that either. If you have 3 claims, Citizens doesn't want you either. So it's not like it's the last resort. That's why, thank God, at Universal Insurance, I have markets for everybody, so that no is not an option. It may cost more, but there's an option. There's an avenue, because we want to try to avoid force-placed insurance as much as possible.
Yeah, because the premiums are astronomical.
They're astronomical, and what do they cover, Will? The loan balance. They don't give them anything for the real value of the home. They don't care. So if you have a house that's worth $500,000, but your loan is $200,000, that's all they're going to cover. And I promise you, it's going to cost as much, if not more, of what you had if you could get a full policy that covers that and your personal property and liability, which is so important. Everybody has to have liability. So that is why it's important to look at your policies and know what's going on. So Citizens doesn't want it. At one point, Citizens had over 1.4 million clients, which is a lot. They're down now below 500,000. That's how quickly they're dumping these policies.
Yeah. So there's people out there that have already been offloaded and they have no idea.
They have no idea
what they're sitting on.
What they're sitting on.
Wow.
They have no idea. And it's a real problem. So only my clients, we have got them protected. That I don't know who else is doing it. But it's not like Citizens sent us a bulletin or anything. No bulletins.
You have to figure this out on your own. Wow.
You had to be at that meeting that I was at. Thank God I was at the convention for that meeting specifically. That was one of the main reasons I went.
Yeah.
To see what was going on with Citizens.
That's crazy with the servicing transfer and how they can change the rules, because servicing transfers happen all the time in mortgage, like literally all the time. Sometimes you close on a home, your servicing risk get transferred 3 or 4 times in a year. You're like, what the hell just happened? Like, why am I having to change who I'm making payments to? Which is very common. But what is in place is like your terms cannot change. You switch servicers, your terms have to remain the same.
Exactly. And I had the same problem with that. Will, that's exactly one of the problems I had with it. But I have to say something else to the consumer. Very important. You transfer the policies in the first 45 days, right? 45 days usually?
Yeah. I mean,
typically?
Depends.
It depends. But most of them are transferred. Well, guess what? The new mortgage company doesn't notify the insurance company nor the insurance agent. So we give them an education when we explain coverages from A to Z before binding a policy, whether we have to work with you for the debt to income ratios or not. We explain why we had to do what we had to do so that the client knows, because it's the most expensive purchase of their lives. And they trusted you, Eddie, as the realtor, and you as the lender. It is my job to make sure they're protected, because we're a team. We're supposed to be a team of professionals, and that's what's the most important thing here, is to protect that client. So we let them know the minute you get a new payment plan that says you got to make your payments to this company, call us, because guess what happens when the renewal goes? Where does it go? To the place it closed. And then what happens? Why do you think insurance companies give them 90 days if it's escrowed? Only if it's escrowed do they give them 90 days, because you got to hurry up and chase the new carrier. And so if it passes 90 days, because a lot of times the consumer gets the notice and it says, this is not a bill. So they don't worry about it unless it goes up a lot, and then they don't call you. So it's important that the client knows that they have to it is important for you to let them know. It's good to say at different levels. Don't forget, when your mortgage company changes, notify your insurance agency and carrier, or just your agency.
Have everybody on the same page.
Yeah. It could be very costly for them, and some people are in a pinch and can't afford more. Because remember, taxes are going to go up, insurance is going to go up because the home is going to be older.
Yeah.
What is Universal doing that is not only, how do I say this? Not only like beating the rest, but also making sure that you're finding all the different avenues to find the consumer the best options out there?
Well, one of the things is my background and the way I do things. You know, I think it all stems by the way you want to grow your business. And I am very known and well respected in the industry. I like to do things right. There's a lot of gray in what we do, but I like to do things right and educating the consumer and the partners that we work with. That's why I built my agency on 100% referrals. I'd rather lose a client to something that I know is going to bite back one day. Give you a quick example. There's a lot of these new constructions that are townhomes that the builders have their own insurance, and they're treating them as condos, as HO6s. They're not HO6s. They're still townhomes, which have to be considered like a home, an HO3. I've turned down business for that in my agency. We will not write an HO6 on something we know is an HO3, because their documents might say that. But the problem is that if you look on the county, it says single family home. Right. It doesn't say condo. So even though the roof may be covered in the HOA, the windows, the easements, if it has a garage, if it has a little detached area, that's not part of the coverage.
Right.
That's not part of the condo docs. So I refuse to write an HO6, a condo policy, on something that I know is an HO3 homeowners. I'd rather lose the business because I don't want to get sued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we've avoided it for 23 years. But we know some of these carriers that are doing it, they've been sued for years. It's amazing. They have to rechange the corporations. I don't know how they stay in business. And some of these companies are from California, not even from here, which is also a problem. But one of the things we do in Universal is we're very proactive, and that's just one way to show you how proactive we are. I like to have my hand on the pulse of what's going on in the industry. It's very important because it's changing a lot. But right now, things are getting looser and a lot better for the consumer. That's why I say, please, let's check your policies. It's a great time to do it. We're in the peak hurricane season right now, but you'd be surprised what we find out there. We also look at the inspections. We don't just give you a quote. I know the lender will. I know you need a tentative quote right away. But a lot of times, depending on who you send it to, they don't look at that quote until right before closing. And what happens? That's when the problems hit, because they didn't do their due diligence. They didn't do the job completely. In order for you to really know how important, how that premium's gonna really come back, you have to run it all the way through. But that's a lot of work, and not everybody wants to do that lot of work. So what we do is we recommend at the time of the acceptance of the contract, that's the time to introduce us to your client. You can do a three-way warm text. That's the time to introduce us. First of all, we're going to speak about you, and we're going to let them know what we know about you, because now we've been working with you and we get feedback from your clients. And we let them know that we're here as a partnership to work for you and for them. And then what we do at that point, then you have the inspections. That's that window of time, 5 to 7 days, right? That's the best time to send that to us, because we're going to look at it and make sure that it's fine. And if there's areas that aren't fine, we're going to help you. We're going to call you, not the buyer. We're going to call the realtor that referred it and let them know, hey, this is a negotiation you can do with the seller. Very important. And the thing is, I got burnt out of insurance. You got burnt out of, I understand you. I got burnt out of insurance in the early 90s. and did real estate, and I did really well. So I wore your hats. So I know what it takes. And you guys work so hard. I wish people knew how hard these realtors work in the street, how hard it is. It's different than it was in the old days. And I did really well, but I love insurance and the legality of it all. So I was born for this, I think. But anyway, back to what we're talking about. So that's the negotiating period. That's the time. That's where we can help you shine and save that client money. All right. I can give you hours of experience on that, of exact things that have happened, but we don't have that time. So that's one of the things we do. Then with that, we're going to go ahead and run the whole quote, because nowadays they do a claim, that they do a check, just like your driver's license and everything, the MVR. This is the same for home insurance now. The subject property, they do a claim check for 5 years, and the buyers. So we have to find out, which is why we ask them those questions initially. And there's nothing more than the client is already so stressed out. He's buying the home. Sorry, but the lender's going to stress them out because they need to pull out everything, right? So we try to make that part palatable and easier for them and walk them through it, which is what they deserve, because they're already stressed out. We want to make that experience good for them. And there is so much that is covered on a homeowner policy they need to know. You'd be shocked how many people come to me and they didn't know what they had, and they didn't have contents coverage, or they had no liability, or they had way bad, underinsured coverage, and they gave them an inferior policy. It just happens all the time. So we do things different. We take care of that client, which is why we have a good reputation.
I mean, you can tell. just the first time I met you, I was like, oh, you can tell you can stand out from the rest, just not only in the way that she carries herself, but like obviously the experience, like the things that most people don't know. Yeah, the details that most people don't pay attention. Yeah.
And I don't expect you to know, and I don't expect you to know everything. I don't need to know everything you do, but it's good to know that, hey, there's a reason why we're not able to move forward with this in this way. Let's look for another company, and then we're going to communicate so that you don't have this, oh my God, we're closing. What? The insurance isn't going to work? Because that's what you mentioned to me at the very beginning. Give me some experience, some examples of that, Will.
No, I'm just saying, like, I mean, I had one that went through, I don't even know what company they were using. It was just a random, like, oh, we got somebody, they're using it. And when we would have our momentum fires, it was actually the one that Brent Gove spoke at. And I remember I stepped outside, and we're supposed to close tomorrow, and the insurance company just never actually like bound the policy. And this was something like, hey, we need this bound, like this is who you want to go with. And there was an open claim that was opened in like 2020 or something like that from the previous owner. But it was like there was 2 owners since then. And so the insurance company's like, hey, we can't do it. I found somebody who can close it with that claim. And we actually
could close it with that claim. But
yeah.
If we had known in advance, we would have never dealt with it.
We should have known in advance in general, but like it's just one of those instances where, sometimes it's like, hey, if I got my guy, I'm not going to press and, hey, use my people. But in a perfect world, you're using my people because I know that we'll get ahead of these things. And this is something that's like the day before closing. Like,
don't you hate that? And then maybe the timeline is ending for the interest rate lock, and then you're subject to whatever's going on now, and it costs money. Everything costs money. So yeah, I'm with you on that, Will. That's what we try to help our referral sources avoid, so that everybody gets paid. And even if you have a roof to replace, that's not going to hinder that. Let's get the roof contract. We do this all the time now. But at the beginning, people weren't doing it. Just get us a roof contract, commit to replacing that roof in the first 30 days. We'll get an exception. Everybody closes.
Yep. It could be closed afterwards, and it doesn't have to come out of the seller's pocket.
It could be money in escrow with the title company, and then the proceeds go to the roofer, and we're all set.
Right. Good to go. Yeah. Beautiful. So obviously the show wouldn't be about independent thinking, which we can tell, obviously, that you think for yourself. You don't allow the insurance regulators to dictate, hey, it's legal, so just accept it.
Yeah, you got to find a way.
Yes. So what's one thing that maybe you believed 5 years ago about insurance, or the world for that matter, that you no longer believe today?
Oh my goodness, that's a good one, because I have so much to say, but that's going to turn into what did you call it? A cascade?
Yes.
I don't believe we are as safe as we were once were in our country.
Mm.
For sure.
Okay.
And I don't know, I guess we see mass shootings now almost daily anymore. It's very sad. You know, I like to go visit other countries, and one of the things, and of course I'm so pro the United States, but one of the things that was interesting is I was in Colombia last year, and somebody was talking, and we were at the hairdresser, and somebody was talking, and I said, yeah. And then the lady, I don't know what the conversation was, but the lady said, yeah, but we may have shootings here, but we don't go kill people in churches and schools.
Yeah.
They kill each other. The bad people kill each other. And I said, you know what? You're 100% right. You're 100% right. So that worries me for our future, for our kids and your kids, and our future is just not as safe as it once was. And I think disagreeing is you can just feel it. You just know. And it makes people a little more unnerved, more nervous. I mean, there was just a shooting on the highway the other day, you know, that kind of thing. But as far as the insurance world is concerned, listen, it's not going anywhere. The good thing is I believe there's going to be construction that'll be coming down, like that one community over by Tampa and Hillsborough, that they withstood the storm, no problems, no flooding, no anything, no damage, but it's the way they constructed it, the community. And they didn't even lose power, so everything was underground, which is, I think that's going to be the evolutionary part of our insurance industry. And I think that the homes are going to be built even better, and maybe different standards will apply. Although the big one for the roof has been great, that started March 1st, 2002. And that's really made a big difference, because I don't know if you all know the history, but that all started when Hurricane Andrew hit Homestead on August 24th in 1992. And that took that long for the roof updates and the building code changes to come to Central Florida. And I think eventually, maybe in Central Florida, maybe we'll start building the second-story concrete. I would like to see that. D.R. Horton's the only builder I know that does it.
Yeah.
Standard. So I would like to see that.
I'm curious to know how the 3D printing is going to change construction.
And I think that's going to change a big way.
Yeah. I mean, you can build something much quicker, much less labor intensive, and efficient, and hopefully much safer and more sturdy.
I think that's going to be the way that they start building. So I feel like there's a lot of innovation coming in our arena and in home building and things like that, which will, in essence, help the insurance companies.
Yeah. Love it. Well, thank you so much for coming. It was a pleasure having you. How can people find you?
My building is located at 1548 South Cimarron Boulevard, right on the corner of Cimarron and Curry Ford, but right next to the Advanced Auto Parts store facing McDonald's. And our phone number there is 407-898-1116.
Is there any social media handles, anything like that?
Yes, there's. I have the Universal Insurance page, and also Diana Giron, Universal Insurance. So, and of course, I have a barcode that I can give you for later if you guys.
Yeah, we'll drop your handles and everything in the.
I'll put it up on the.
Put it up. Thank you, guys. I think that this was great, and I'm grateful for you. I hope I gave you information that you wanted.
Oh, of course, it was so good.